Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Devo with Boa. Let me straighten out that a little bit. There we go. Great morning to you. Good Friday, October 14th. Already midstream October. Wow. What a trip, huh? Hey, let me get my hat. It's hat day. Friday hat day. How about that? So you could always check out the archives of the devotions at my YouTube channel, Bo Willette. They're right there. All the different Bible books that we've gone through so far. Super cool. We're in a wonderful place right now. 1 Samuel chapter 17, David and Goliath fame. We're in the second part, so 17b. That's what the B stands for, is the second part. Great to see Paula back in the comment corner. And you're right, the music was mellow. So I have an interesting background, as most of you know. So, it's fun on the comment corner to share our lives with each other and some of the change that God's done in our life too over the years. Really moved us in different directions. It's really awesome, for our betterment as well. So let's get into this. Chapter 17, these devos are really about pulling out some good gems in the narratives that we're reading throughout the Bible. Really proving how just relevant the Bible is in our day and age. How if we all just read the Bible and actually just went off of the principles of it, we really might be getting somewhere in the world, But to reject it, boy, we're rejecting everything, aren't we? Yeah. And it's voting season too. So, hey, get out and vote. I'm waiting for mine to get going. I'm not sure if I vote in the mail this time or go to it, but I'm looking forward to it. I always enjoy voting. It's pretty cool. So we are going to start in verse 7 or 12. So this is after David or we get this picture of Goliath and what he's wearing and, how big he is and how intimidating he is and how Israel's totally intimidated by this guy. And it says even the king, Saul, the people of Israel's king, heard about Goliath. He even was scared. And remember, Saul's been dealing with some depression and fear lately as well. Remember that, And it says, now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse, and who had 8 sons, and the man was old, advanced in years, in the days of Saul. Okay, so Jesse had become an old man. Obviously is in the days of Saul, which will be important for the narrative later on down the road. But it's just good for us to know that some time has passed, Jesse's aged, and David is knee-deep in his occupation at the point that we're reading this. And it says, or at the point that it's in the narrative. The 3 oldest sons of Jesse had gone to follow Saul to the battle. So David had some bros that were in a sense, in the military with Saul. The names of the 3 who went to the battle were Eliab, the firstborn, next to him Abinadab, and the third Shema. David was the youngest, and the 3 oldest followed Saul. Okay, so even people from David's own household were with Saul, right? And it says, but David occasionally went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And you know what I get out of that statement is this. David could have easily just remained in the current occupation that he was in. He could have just stayed with Saul, playing his guitar, being his armor bearer, making sure he knew where all the things were, the weapons, that kind of thing. But notice that he really felt an obligation to his old man to take care of him, to take care of the family. So he would go back and what would he do? He would go feed the sheep. And I thought that's cool. Occasionally he went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep. Right? So it was on his mind. His father was on his mind. His mother was on his mind. His family, his brothers. He went and returned to help out. This is a big part of, I think, our lives. And one that I want to continue to be a part of my life. Meaning, I think the world's a better place if we not think of ourselves so much and we think about our relatives, our descendants, right? Our family. Why is it important? Because people had babies, right? People got together, had babies, and produced offspring. And those people matter. Do neglect your family. And that's something we don't want to do. We don't want to be people who neglect our family. And we see David didn't do that. So this morning, I don't want to do that either. Do I neglect my family? Do I ignore my family? Or am I a part of helping them out too? Do I do anything practical to help out my family? David was a part like this. I think this is important. It's easy for us to get in this habit of kind of staying in our lane, doing our thing, what we normally do. And that's what we kind of sometimes mean, right? By staying in your lane is doing what you normally do. But, you can't always stay in the same lane. David was a guy who, check this out, he would move away from one area and go to another. He'd make himself maybe uncomfortable, right, to help out, to be a part of. It wasn't a burden. It wasn't a bummer. Oh my gosh, I got to go help my dad. How horrible is that? Man, that's a bummer, right? It says in the Bible that in the latter days, people will be lovers of themselves, not lovers of their family. They won't be thinking about family. Hey, maybe I can help out my family. How can I help out my family? So we definitely don't want to be a part of that. We want to be like a David, right? We want to help out the fam. And then it says, and the Philistines drew near and presented himself 40 days, morning and evening. Okay? So, and the Philistines drew near and presented himself 40 days, morning and evening. Or the Philistine drew near, right? Goliath. Then Jesse, son of David, said, take now for your brothers an ephah of this dried grain and these 10 loaves, and run to your brothers at the camp. So Jesse sees David helping out, and he says, hey, go help out your brother. Take this to your brother and take these loaves. Run to your brothers at the camp. Right? David doesn't go, oh, gosh, Dad, that's a long way. It's kind of a bummer, to go do that. But instead, he goes, right? He's full of obedience, right? He sees the importance of mom and dad. And how valuable they are. What happens to a society when we diminish the value of a mom and a dad? Major problems, right? Yep. And it says, and carry these 10 cheeses to the captain of their 1,000, and see how your brothers fare, and bring back the news of them. Hey, go record what's going to happen, man. We know there's going to be a battle. Jesse knows that, so he says, hey, take him some cheese, get him some nutrients, get him fed. This is important. Hey, be fed, right? Meaning before the battle, sometimes we just need to make sure that our nutrition is up, right? Nutrition's important, especially if we're going to be doing something, challenging. It's important to think about what you're putting in your body. I know I stress that sometimes, but the Bible seems to be stressing that too, that it is important to feed your body properly. And so here, before a rigorous time of war, Jesse says, hey, go bring him some food. And that's important. And it says, now Saul and they had all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah fighting with the Philistines. So David rose early in the morning, left the sheep with a keeper, and took the things and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the camp as the army was going out to the fight and shouting for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had drawn up in battle array, army against army. So they're getting ready to brawl, it sounds like. Pretty interesting, right? And David left his supplies in the hand of the supply keeper, ran to the army, and came and greeted his brothers. Then he talked with them there with the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, coming up from the armies of the Philistines, and he spoke according to the same words, so David heard them. Remember Goliath kept saying, hey, challenge me. Whoever wins me, you know what? You guys, we'll serve you. That kind of idea. And if you guys lose to me, we're gonna usurp authority over you, kind of idea. We're gonna gain that authority over you, kind of thing. So hey, we'll see you later, Marcia. Have a great day. And so you see that it says all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were dreadfully afraid. So everybody's afraid of Goliath. So the men of Israel said, have you seen this man who has come up? Surely he has come up to defy Israel, and it shall be that the man who kills him, the king will enrich with great riches, will give him his daughter, and give his father's house exemption from taxes in Israel. Ooh, sometimes, people, what do they want to do? They want to kind of buy your services, right? Hey, I'll give you all this if you just handle this for me. Maybe it would have been braver if Saul just came out and said, hey, I'm going to fight you, Goliath. But obviously, man, he's struggling with so many emotional things at the point. He's definitely not ready to do that. But he offers, hey, I'll give you my daughter. Oh, you ain't going to have to pay taxes. Sounds like maybe working in the government. No, I don't know. I don't know, but it sounds, a lot of the favors, right? A lot of that favor. Hey, the authority I have, I'm going to give you all this stuff. You're not even going to have to pay taxes. If you get this job, if you win this one, I will give you the riches. I will give you the insider trading. I'll give you everything, man. You're going to be rich. You're going to have all the wants you ever going to need. So David spoke to the men who stood by him, saying, what shall be done for the man who kills this Philistine and takes away the reproach from Israel? Isn't that sad? It's a reproach of Israel, the insult of Israel. The Philistines were constantly that nagging that Israel never did obey God. That's really the big thing David saw, is that, man, it's a reproach of Israel. A reproach is like an insult. And, David saw it as the presence of the Philistines showed the failure of Israel. Does that sound like anything in your own life? Is there something that you look at or you've seen that shows your own failure? That reflects, in a sense, your own failure. Yeah. I think of what we see every day, right, in our communicative world, all the news that we see, all the failures of human beings all over the place, every day, every second of every day, constant failure of human beings. And you know what? That's a reproach of humans, isn't it? It's an insult to us. Why? Because it shows our utter failure to listen and to surrender to God, to our Creator. We constantly are in rebellion, constantly filled with pride, constantly unyielding to God, constantly thinking that we know more because we took a class, because we went to an institution and sat in a classroom and listened to someone and learned something, that we know more than the deity. We have the audacity to proclaim that from on high. Pretty sad, right? Yeah, there's a lot of things that show the reproach of us, Well, the Philistines showed the reproach of Israel, and that's sad. David wants to take away the reproach of Israel. Well, Jesus has come to take away your and our, reproach. The insults that are due us, he took upon himself. This is what Jesus has come to do, to take all of the insults, the judgments that we deserve, everything that reflects our failure, he took upon him, and he bore a punishment, the punishment that we deserved. He literally became us so that we could become like him. Pretty radical, right? But King David has this heart. It's the heart of Messiah, to take away the reproach. Just as a human being, I think that's beautiful, right? A human, David, wants to take away the reproach of Israel. He doesn't want Israel to bear the insult. He doesn't go, oh man, Israel deserves this. King Saul deserves this. Blah, blah, blah. He doesn't go that route. He says, man, Israel is that's my family. I want to get rid of the reproach, the thing that shows all the failure, the past failures of my people. And so, very cool. I think there's a very Jesus thing there for sure. And so taking away the reproach from Israel, Jesus has taken our reproach away. And who is this uncircumcised Philistine that we should defy the armies of the living God? Right? Who is this Philistine? Who can stand up against God's people, God's anointed? Right? What weapon formed against you shall prosper? Right? You are more than a conqueror. I remember the song by Kirk Franklin. And he always quoted that. But yeah, we are more than conquerors. And in Israel, and David asked that question, and I think it's a cool question. Hey, who is this? Right? Why should he defy the armies of the living God? Notice how David looks at life. He looks at it as like, if God's on your side, then man, you really got a powerhouse. I mean, you have it. Nothing can come against you. I mean, it's seriously, God is on your side. The living God. Notice it doesn't say the dead God, or the God who was once alive, or something like that. It's the living God, right? The God, the living God, active God, powerful God, one who is in the historical books, right? And that's amazing. When you look at the history of Israel, you're looking at the history of God's working through human beings in the lives of humans. And that's what's so cool, right? To, if you don't believe there's a God, well, then you have to explain Israel. You have to explain the country and all the narratives. You have to explain them away over and over and over, because their history is just rooted in Yahweh. That's what it's rooted in. They have the living God. Yeah, pretty powerful, right? So sometimes the greatest proof of the existence of God is simply just pulling out a map and finding Israel and just going, oh, there it is. And there they are. They serve the living God, Yahweh. And the people answered him in this manner, saying, so shall it be done for the man who kills him. And so shall it be done for the man who kills Goliath, meaning he'll get a wife, won't have to pay taxes, and he'll gain riches. So he'll get the perks of working in the gov, so to speak. He'll kind of have that kind of, those things granted to him. We'll see how this plays out. If this really plays out that smoothly, or if there's always a caveat there. There's always something there, an asterisk, we'll see. Nothing isn't always as maybe clean as it seems, right? As easy as it seems. There's always many variables. So another cool section of this very, very long but awesome narrative. We really get the idea of King David's stability with God. He is so rooted in the living God. He has a very high level of confidence in the living God. And he remembers all the promises of God, obviously, that God is with them and that God will conquer their enemies. And that their enemies still being in the land is really a reproach and insult for Israel, because it shows the failure of Israel over the years. And David's heart is to get rid of that reproach. He wants to, in a sense, take the burden off of Israel. And I love that. Very Messiah-like qualities. Now, this is going to be a person that is after God's own heart. David is a man after God's own heart. And we start seeing Messiah qualities coming out in this narrative. And that's very important for us to grab. Because we're called as Christians to be like who? The Messiah, like Jesus. So there's some good things we can grab here. God help us today to be like King David, to be able to express our heart in right ways for our family, for humans, that we bear with one another, that we help one another, that we don't laugh when people are insulted, but we want to, in a sense, ease the burden. We want to act in love, which covers a multitude of sins, those kind of things. So God bless you guys. Have a great week, okay? Take care. Bye-bye.